Welcome to dividing by one-digit divisors. I want to start off just by reviewing the vocabulary that goes along with division, so as you hear me talking about it, you remember. So, I have a math problem here. Let's start with this one. 85 divided by 5. The 5 is my divisor. The divisor is the number you divide by. The 85 is my dividend. That is what we are dividing up. And then the answer would be the quotient. Remember, everything I write down, you need to write down. So you need to have your title written down and this also written down. And you can pause it anytime you need to. So, very important. So we're dividing by one-digit divisors. Just to review the steps, okay? To review the steps, we're going to use the D, M, S, and you might do a C. Some of you have done a C, which I like. B. So this is does McDonald's. So does is divide. McDonald's multiply. Then we subtract. Sell, cheese, burgers. And this is bring down, or we might have to bring up. Okay? So does McDonald's sell cheeseburgers? That's going to be our thing to help us remember what to do. Again, write this down. If I'm writing it down, it's important for you to write down. And anytime you do division, you can go and make sure you're doing those steps. And then when you get to bring down, if you have something to bring down, you have to start back over with divide. Okay? All right, so let's do the first problem, 85 divided by 5. And do it over here. I'm going to show you a couple different ways. I'm going to do some problems, several problems both ways to help. I think that might help all of you out. All right. And once you find the way that you like, use that way. That's fine. Okay. So here we have 8 tens. How many groups of 5 can we get from that? So 5 goes into 8, or we get how many groups of 5 out of it? We get one group. Because 1 times 5 is 5. So when I divide, my answer goes on the house. You can do, if it's like a dad goes on the roof of the house. Then you multiply. 1 times 5 is 5. So that's my second step. And then I do my third step, subtract. 8 minus 5 is 3. When I subtract, I always want to check, is this number smaller than this number? Okay, because if it's the same, that means I could have gotten one more group. Or if it's bigger, I could have gotten one more group. So you always want to check there. That's always a good spot to find mistakes, right there, to make sure you're dividing correctly. Then the next step, after we check, because 3 is smaller than 5, I'm going to bring down my 5. And that's going to be, there we go. Now I have 35 left over. So 35 divided by 5. So since I brought something down, notice I'm starting back over with my division. So 35 divided by 5. Some people I know will write the division sign right here to help them out and put the 5 there to help them remember it. You can, you don't have to. 35 divided by 5 is one of your multiplication facts. So that's 7. 7 times 5 is 35. And I get nothing left over. There's not another number to bring down. 0 is definitely smaller than 5, so we are done. There's no remainder here. Now, I always want you to do is check by multiplying. Anytime you have a division problem, you can know you have it right by checking by multiplying. Takes a little bit of time, but it's worth it. 5 times 7 is 35. I'm going to regroup my 3. 5 times 1 is 5, plus 3 is 85. This checks out, so that means this is right. Okay? Let me show you another way to do the same problem. Some of you have heard it as the big 7. It's basically partial quotients. So you're making a guess. So I'm going to make, this is 7 going down right here. See, it looks like a big 7. Okay? I'll make that blue because I want it to be a different color. So there's my big 7. And then I make guesses, really educated guesses about how many times 5 can go into 85. Well, I know 5 times 10 equals 50. So I know that I can get 10 groups at least in this, right? So I'm going to put 10 on the outside because I can get 10 groups of 5. 10 times 5, so I'm still dividing. Now I'm putting my answer over here. 10 times 5 is 50, so I still multiplied. And now I'm going to subtract, so I'm still subtracting, and I get 35. Okay? Now I go again. This is where you don't do the check, so we're just going to go through the steps again. I want to divide again. How many times can 5 go into 35? How many groups of 5 can I get with 35? Well, again, I know my multiplication fact. 5 times 7 is 35. So I can put a 7 here. 7 times 5 is 35. Subtract and I get nothing left over. And then to get my answer, I add all these numbers up right here, which it only ends up being 2 this time, and I get 17. There you go. 17. I kind of got that. So that would be the answer that would go up here. And as I showed you already, I checked by multiplying, so we know that's correct. Let's try another one together. Okay. Let's do 93 divided by, let's do 4. Okay. So let's start. Let's do the big 7 method first. And then I'll do the other method again so you can see how they relate. Okay, so if I know my facts, I can think, well, I know 4 times 10 equals 40. So I could start with that and say, oh, it goes in 10 times. 4 times 10 is 40. I multiply it, and then I subtract and see how many I have left over. Let me scoot that up a little bit. Okay. So then I subtract it, 353. Oh, I know again, 4 times 10 is 40, so I know I can get another 10 out of that. Another 10 groups of 4 out of it. 10 times 4 is 40. Subtract. This time I get 13 left over. So now go, how many more groups of 4 can I get out of it? So 4 goes into 13. Well, I know my fact that 4 times 3 equals 12. Okay, so I get 3 groups. 3 times 4 is 12. Oops, subtract, not add, subtract. And I get a remainder of 1. I can't get another group of 4 out of it, so this is my remainder. Okay, so this, I add all this up, and I get 23 with my remainder of 1. And I'll check that by multiplying in a moment. I want to show you the other way. So here we go. 93. I'm going to do the same number so you can see the relationship between this way and this way. Okay, both ways are just as good. And for some of you, this might be a little bit easier, especially when we get into 2-digit divisors. Okay, so again, so now I'm going to just break this up, and I'm going to get my 9. How many groups of 4 can I get from 9? And I can get 2 groups of 4. That's my D, so I just divided. So now I'm going to multiply. 2 times 4 is, it's my multiply stage, right? 2 times 4 is 8. My next step is subtract. So I'm going to subtract it. 9 minus 8 is 1. Now I'm going to check. So my C, my cheeseburger, I'm going to check. Is 1 less than 4? Yes, so then I can keep going. I know I'm okay. If it was equal to 4 or bigger, then I would know, uh-oh, erase, erase, start again. Okay, so next step is bring down. So I'm going to bring down my 3, and now I have 13. Look at that over here. Same thing. Okay. The other way you could think about this, this is 2 10s, so 20, because that's in my 10 spot, times 4 is 80, and that's why that 0 would be like right there. That would be equal to 80. So you can see why I'm bringing down that. You can see the 2 40s over here. That would equal that 80. So you can see how that relates. Okay. So now I know again if I know my facts. 4 times 3 is 13, so I'm going to put my 3 up on the top, because 13 divided by 4 is 3. 3 times 4 is 12, so I did my multiplying. Subtract, I get a remainder of 1. Okay, so now we need to check by multiplying just to make sure we're on the right track and that we got it correct. So my answer is 23, and I divided by 4, so I'm going to multiply it by 4 to check. 4 times 3 is 12, so I put down my 2, carry my 1. 4 times 2 is 8, plus 1 is 92. Oops, but it's not what's inside the house, so what do? Don't forget about the remainder. We always add the remainder. Remember, we subtracted to get the remainder, so when we're checking it, we want to add it back in. We want to do the opposite. Okay, here we divided and subtracted. Over here to check, we multiply and add. So 92 plus 91 is 93, and it checks out. Okay. Okay, I'm going to give you a couple problems to try on your own, and you can, we'll check them in class. So let's see, or I'll give you one. I'll give you, you pause the video. I'll give you a chance to check it with me. So let's see, let's do 124 divided by 3. So this would be a good time to pause the video. Make sure you've got it, have a chance to work it. Good, I hope you've had that chance to work it out and took your time and work it and check it to see if you're on the right track. I will again show both methods to this so you can see whichever way you did it, you can check your work. Okay? Alright, so I'm going to start with the traditional algorithm, the way I prefer. And I'm going to look, oh, let's break this up. I have a 1 here. Can I get a group of 3 out of that 1? I really can't. So I'm going to put a 0 at the top or an X so I can keep things lined up. This is very important for when we get to dividing by decimals. So then I'm going to go over another one. So now 12 divided by 3. Can I do 12 divided by 3? Yes, if I know my facts, you know I can get a 4 out of that. So 4 is going to go up here at the top, because 4 times 3 is 12. I subtract and I get nothing left over. The other way to think about this, I want you to realize this, is look at the 4 is in the 10 spot for my answer. So it's like really worth 40. 40 times 3 is 120. Okay? And if I subtract that, I would bring down my 4. You can see how it just comes down. That's why you bring down the 4. Okay? Now I start my 0 before, at that point, the 0 was less than the 3, so I was good to go. And I bring down my 4. Now I'm doing 4 divided by 3. How many groups of 3 can I get from 4? Well, in this case, I can only get 1, because 1 times 3 is 4. So 1 is my answer. 1 times 3 is 3. And then I subtract and I get 1 left over, which is smaller than what I'm dividing by, so it's okay. So I'm going to bring it up because there's nothing else to divide, nothing else to bring down. So remainder of 1. Okay. Now if you did it the big 7 way, or the partial quotient way, it's actually the technical way to say it, partial quotients. So I'm going to do my big 7, okay? And I'm going to guess, how many times do I think 3 can go into 144? Well, since it's a pretty big fact, and you know your facts, think about the facts that you know, I'm thinking the easiest thing to start with might be 10, because 3 times 10 is 30. 3 times 10 equals 30. So I know I can at least get a group of 10 out of this. 10 times 3 is 30, and I'm going to subtract. I get 4. 12 minus 3 is 9. Well, I know I can get another 10 out of it. Now, you might have done a bigger group, and that's okay. You might have noticed there were more than 10 that you could get out of it. I'm just showing you one way you can break it down. And 10s is an easy, simple way to start with if you can't see anything else, or you can't see the bigger number, and that's fine. At least it's you get started on it. So again, 10 times 3 is 30. Subtract. I get 64. Well, again, I see. But maybe this time I'm thinking, well,